The human mind is a puzzle, complex and full of layers. When someone who once enjoyed your attention notices you've stopped reaching out, it doesn't just go unnoticed, it stirs something deep within them. Suddenly, they might feel curious, confused, or even begin to miss the attention they once took for granted. But why does this happen? What shifts in their thoughts and emotions when you pull back? The answer lies in human nature. When something we're used to disappears, we begin to see its value. Your absence creates a gap, a space they can't ignore. It's like removing a familiar sound from the background. The silence becomes impossible to overlook. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, teaches us to stay calm, control our emotions, and detach from what we can't control. By stepping back, you're not just creating space, you're taking control of the narrative. You're showing them your self-worth doesn't depend on their attention. This isn't about playing games. It's about proving to yourself that you don't need constant validation to feel confident. Think of your absence as the quiet pause in a song. It's not just the notes that make music, it's also the silence in between that gives those notes meaning. When you pull away, you give them time to notice how much your presence really mattered. Stepping back isn't weakness, it's a powerful move that speaks louder than any words. In today's world of constant notifications, pulling back from someone's life stands out. It's unexpected. It creates a shift they can't ignore. And when they begin to wonder why, that curiosity can spark reflection and even attraction. Your silence is not just silence, it's strength. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By pulling back, you regain that power. You're no longer chasing or reacting, you're standing firm, and that is where your magic lies. This is not about punishing anyone or trying to make them regret anything. It's about respecting yourself and understanding your value. When you stop chasing, you show that your world doesn't fall apart without them. This shift can make them realize what they had with you, and that's where the magic happens. Maybe they'll reach out, maybe they won't. Either way, you've grown stronger. Here's the challenge for you. Stay until the end of this video because we're not just talking about why pulling back works. We're giving you the tools to do it with confidence and clarity. You'll discover the one essential mindset that makes this strategy even more powerful. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon so you never miss out on life-changing insights. If you're finding value so far, like this video to show your support. Affirmation time. In the comments below, write, "I naturally attract respect, love, and attention." This affirmation is a reminder of your worth and power, and by sharing it, you're setting the tone for the changes you want to see in your life. Get ready to reclaim your confidence, understand your worth, and let your actions speak louder than words. By the end of this video, you'll have all the tools you need to let go with strength and grace. Let's dive in. 1. The initial surprise and questions. How silence changes everything. When you decide to stop reaching out to someone, it's as if you flipped a switch in their mind. Communication that once felt steady and predictable is now absent, and this sudden change doesn't just go unnoticed. Instead, it sparks a chain reaction, a mix of surprise, curiosity, and perhaps even irritation as they try to process the silence. They may begin to wonder, why have they stopped reaching out? Did something happen? Was it something I did? This moment of initial surprise is natural. Human relationships, like anything else, thrive on patterns. When a pattern is disrupted, it draws attention, much like a sudden pause in the rhythm of a song. In relationships, this silence can be unsettling. It creates a void that forces reflection on your actions, their responses, and the dynamic you shared. Here, the wisdom of Stoicism becomes a powerful ally. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus only on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our emotions. You can't predict or control how they'll react to your silence. Their curiosity, confusion, or even frustration is entirely their own. What you can control, however, is how you respond to this moment of change. Imagine you've been the one constantly initiating. You've started every conversation, planned every meetup, and kept the connection alive. Over time, this imbalance may leave you feeling drained, undervalued, or as if you're chasing after something that isn't being reciprocated. Deciding to step back is not about playing games or seeking revenge. It's about realigning the dynamic and reclaiming your sense of balance. When the other person notices your absence, it can be a turning point. They may begin to question why they took you for granted. This process can stir a range of emotions within them, but instead of rushing to ease their discomfort or explain yourself, you let the silence unfold. This pause is not only impactful for them, it's transformative for you. Silence, in this context, is a tool. It creates space for clarity and self-reflection. It's not just the absence of words, it's the presence of strength. As Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In choosing silence, you demonstrate self-respect and emotional independence. You're showing that your peace of mind doesn't depend on their attention or validation. For the other person, this silence may feel like a missing piece in a puzzle. It challenges them to evaluate their own feelings and actions. If they truly value the connection, they might reconsider their effort. If they don't, the silence serves as a clear answer for you. Either way, you've taken control, not of them, but of yourself. During this time, Stoicism encourages you to reflect. What are your intentions? Does this relationship align with your values and sense of self-worth? Are you holding on to something that no longer serves you? These are the questions that matter, not how they'll respond, but how you'll grow. Silence is not a weapon or a tactic. It's a means of finding balance. By stepping back, you're not pushing them away. You're creating space for mutual understanding. You're also giving yourself the chance to evaluate the relationship without the noise of constant interaction. True strength, as the Stoics remind us, lies in maintaining your inner peace, regardless of external circumstances. By choosing to step back and stop chasing, you send a message, not to them, but to yourself. You're saying, "My worth is not determined by someone else's response. I am enough as I am." This approach isn't about manipulation or control. It's about prioritizing your emotional well-being and self-respect. Silence, when used thoughtfully, has the power to transform relationships. It allows the other person to reassess their feelings while giving you the clarity to decide whether this connection truly aligns with your values. Ultimately, this isn't just about how they respond. It's about how you grow. By shifting your focus inward, you discover the strength to let go of what doesn't serve you and embrace what does. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, to find peace in yourself, not in the reactions of others. 2. When the mirror turns, rediscovery in the silence. When you stop pursuing someone, it's as if you've pulled a thread from the fabric of the connection, leaving the other person wondering what caused the shift. For them, this unexpected silence can be unsettling, even puzzling. They might replay moments in their mind, dissecting past conversations and analyzing interactions to uncover where things changed. Questions like, "Was it something I said? Did I do something wrong?" may surface as they try to piece together the silence. But while they're caught in this whirlwind of reflection, Stoicism invites you to turn the mirror on yourself. This moment isn't just about their reaction. It's a golden opportunity for your own rediscovery. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." Instead of focusing on their emotions or potential regrets, shift your attention inward and ask, "What does this silence mean for me?" Think of it like stepping out of a noisy room into a quiet forest. At first, the silence might feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, but soon you begin to notice the stillness, the clarity. This pause isn't about waiting for them to act. It's about understanding your own role in the dynamic. Were you chasing their approval at the cost of your own peace? Were you prioritizing their attention over your own needs? These questions hold the key to your growth. Imagine you've been the one initiating every conversation, planning every meeting, and driving the connection forward. When you stop, they'll likely notice the absence of your efforts. But instead of waiting anxiously for their reaction, use this time to reflect. Did you lose sight of your own identity while trying to maintain the relationship? Did you compromise your values or boundaries just to keep them interested? This silence is your opportunity to realign with your authentic self. Silence, much like a mirror, reflects truths you may have overlooked. Perhaps you'll realize that your self-worth had become too entangled with their validation, or maybe you'll see that you've been overextending yourself to meet expectations they never even asked for. This isn't about blame or regret. It's about growth. As Seneca once wrote, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Use this moment to rewrite your narrative. Picture a river flowing through a valley. When a rock disrupts the flow, the water doesn't fight against it. It simply finds another path, carving a new course. Similarly, when your actions disrupt the dynamic of a relationship, it creates space for reflection, both for them and for you. The question isn't whether they'll return. The question is whether you'll emerge stronger and more aligned with your values. It's easy to fall into the trap of wondering, what are they thinking? Will they come back? But the truth is, their thoughts and decisions are beyond your control. Stoicism reminds us to focus only on what we can influence: our thoughts, actions, and growth. Worrying about their reaction is like trying to control the wind. It's futile. Instead, anchor yourself in what you can control, your response to this silence, and how you choose to use it. This pause is a gift, a chance to rediscover who you are outside the relationship. It's a time to ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my values? Am I building a life that reflects my true self? If the answer is no, this is your moment to change course. By stepping back, you reclaim control over your happiness. You no longer place it in their hands or anyone else's. Instead, you find fulfillment in staying true to yourself. As they reflect on the past, wondering what your silence means, you focus on moving forward. This isn't about waiting for their next move. It's about making your own. Whether they return or not is secondary to the strength you gain in this process. As Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Your greatest wealth is your inner peace, your ability to find fulfillment without depending on someone else. This journey isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about growth, respect, and authenticity. While they try to decipher your silence, you use it as a tool to refine your sense of self. True strength isn't about forcing someone to stay. It's about being so grounded in your values that you can let go, knowing you'll thrive regardless of the outcome. 3. When they push your limits, the silent power of boundaries. When you pull back and stop reaching out, it's as if you've shifted the dynamic entirely. Suddenly, the other person might start probing, testing the waters to see where they stand. This could come in subtle forms, A casual message that seems innocent, a social media post designed to grab your attention, or a scenario crafted to tempt you into engaging. These actions often aren't malicious. Instead, they reflect an innate human curiosity. Do I still matter to them? Do I still have influence over their emotions? This is where many falter. Fear often takes the reins. Fear of losing the connection entirely, fear that they're moving on, or fear that your withdrawal isn't working. Acting from this fear, you might feel compelled to respond quickly or fall back into familiar patterns of pursuit. But here's the hard truth. Such reactions stem from insecurity, not strength. Insecurity erodes not only your self-respect, but also the balance of the dynamic you've worked so hard to shift. Enter the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." A Stoic approach doesn't crumble under the pressure of boundary testing. Instead, it finds strength in restraint, rooted in the understanding that your worth doesn't depend on their validation. True self-control is about choosing your actions with intention, not reacting impulsively to external stimuli. Imagine this. After days of silence, they send you a message, seemingly casual but undoubtedly calculated. It might say something like, "Hey, just saw something that reminded me of you." This moment is pivotal. It's not just a message, it's a subtle probe, a way of checking if they still hold sway over you. Now you have a choice. Will you jump to reply, driven by excitement or anxiety, or will you pause, reflect, and decide if responding aligns with your values? Think of boundaries like a well-built dam. The water presses against it, testing its strength, but the dam doesn't crumble. It holds firm because it's built on a solid foundation. Your boundaries are no different. When they test them, they're not looking for you to cave. They're subconsciously gauging your strength. If you respond with emotional impulsivity, it communicates insecurity and a need for their validation. But if you stay composed, grounded in your principles, it speaks volumes about your self-assurance. Some may wonder, isn't staying silent manipulative? Not at all. Silence isn't a game. It's a choice to prioritize your peace of mind over unnecessary engagement. As Seneca said, the greatest power is often simple patience. Responding impulsively doesn't show strength. It shows a lack of control. By taking a pause, you're demonstrating that your actions are guided by intention, not by a desire to please or impress. For example, if you do choose to respond, it should come from a place of calm and confidence, not eagerness. A brief, composed reply says, "I acknowledge you, but I'm not seeking your approval." Alternatively, you might decide not to respond at all, recognizing that silence better serves your long-term interests. Both choices carry power, not because they manipulate the other person, but because they reflect your self-respect. This is the essence of Stoicism, control over your emotions and actions. When you maintain your boundaries, you send a clear message, not just to them, but to yourself. You're saying, "My worth isn't defined by how others perceive me, it comes from within." This quiet confidence is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who don't waver, who remain composed even in the face of uncertainty. Think of a lighthouse standing firm against crashing waves. It doesn't chase the tides or fear their strength. It simply holds its ground, illuminating its surroundings. That's the kind of strength you embody when you maintain your boundaries. It's not about controlling others, but mastering yourself. You might ask, what if they stop testing me? What if they walk away entirely? That's a possibility, but Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we can control. If someone leaves because you've chosen self-respect over chasing them, It's a clear sign that the relationship wasn't aligned with your values. As Epictetus said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Ultimately, this isn't about winning them back or proving a point. It's about showing yourself that your sense of worth isn't tied to anyone else's behavior. When they push your limits, let it be an opportunity to strengthen your resolve. Each test is a chance to reaffirm your values and demonstrate that your happiness comes from within. Take a moment to reflect. Have I let fear guide my responses in the past? Have I compromised my boundaries for the sake of someone else's approval? Growth begins with honest self-awareness. If this resonates with you, let it inspire you to stand firmer, not out of stubbornness, but out of self-respect. Your strength lies not in chasing, reacting, or seeking validation, but in knowing that you're enough as you are. Let them test your boundaries. You don't need to prove your worth. It's already within you, and that is the silent power of true confidence. 4. Navigating their search for answers. Something shifts when you step back and stop reaching out. Perhaps they once seemed indifferent, barely noticing your presence, but now the silence unsettles them. Suddenly, questions arise, and they reach out, trying to make sense of the change. This reaction, often referred to as seeking closure, is common when someone feels the abrupt withdrawal of attention. But here's the deeper question you must ask yourself. Do you truly owe them the answers they're looking for? Imagine this scenario. You've been in contact, exchanging messages, maybe even spending time together. But over time, the dynamic feels uneven. Perhaps their energy doesn't match yours, or the connection lacks the depth you're seeking. Instead of forcing something that feels unbalanced, you choose to step back. Days go by, and then, as if on cue, a message appears. Why haven't you reached out? Did I do something wrong? In that moment, you might feel the urge to explain yourself. After all, isn't it polite to provide clarity? But pause for a moment and reflect. Stoicism teaches us to protect our peace of mind and energy, both limited resources. If engaging in this conversation risks reopening wounds or pulling you back into an emotionally taxing situation, is it truly worth it? Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their quest for answers is an external event beyond your control. Your strength lies in how you choose to respond. Will you explain yourself, risking your emotional well-being to ease their curiosity, or will you let your silence stand as a quiet declaration of your boundaries? It's natural for them to seek answers. Human nature abhors uncertainty, and silence often leaves people grappling with their own reflections. But here's the thing, closure doesn't always come from dialogue. Sometimes, unanswered questions are the closure itself. Silence, in its simplicity, communicates that the chapter has ended, that there's no need to revisit what has already been resolved within you. Think of it this way. You're standing on the edge of a forest, and they're calling out from the other side, asking for directions to where you are. Do you step back into the tangled woods to guide them, or do you continue forward, trusting that they can find their own way or choose a new path altogether? Your silence isn't cruelty. It's a choice to protect your peace and stay aligned with your decision to step away. Some might wonder, isn't silence harsh? Doesn't it leave them in pain? But consider this. If you've already made the choice to move on, engaging may not bring the clarity they're seeking. It may only prolong the pain or create false hope. Seneca reminds us, "He who is brave is free." By choosing silence, you free yourself from the weight of unnecessary explanations and allow them the space to find their own resolution. This isn't about dismissing their feelings. It's about respecting your boundaries. Your time, energy, and peace of mind are precious. You've already given enough. By stepping back and allowing them to reflect, engaging every time someone demands your attention is like trying to fill a cup. It drains you without ever satisfying the other person. Closure isn't something you can hand to someone else. It's something they must find within themselves. By remaining silent, you're not denying them answers. You're guiding them to look inward, where the real closure resides. And in doing so, you protect the emotional clarity you've worked so hard to achieve. Ask yourself this: was my decision to step back impulsive or rooted in self-respect and awareness of my needs? If it was deliberate, then why reopen a door that you closed for a reason? Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for both yourself and the other person is to let the silence remain unbroken. This silence isn't about punishment or avoidance, it's about strength. It shows that your peace doesn't depend on external validation. It's a quiet, stoic response that says, I honor my boundaries and I trust that you will find your own path. In that silence, you'll find the ultimate closure for both of you. Fifth, riding the emotional tides, staying grounded amid their reactions. Imagine this: you've stepped back. The texts, calls, and conversations you once initiated are no longer flowing. The dynamic has shifted, leaving an undeniable void. What follows is a wave of emotions: anger, sadness, maybe even relief. These reactions ripple through their mind, a response to the sudden change in energy. But as someone striving to embody Stoic principles, it's crucial to recognize that their emotions are reflections of their perspective, not a directive for your actions. Emotions, as the Stoics remind us, are like the weather, unpredictable and ever-changing. Marcus Aurelius once observed, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their anger, sorrow, or relief is temporary, shaped by the situation, not a truth you must absorb or act upon. Let's say their first reaction is anger. Maybe you receive sharp messages accusing you of being distant, or perhaps they vent to mutual friends about your withdrawal. The instinct to defend yourself, to explain your actions, can feel overwhelming. But pause. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Their anger is theirs to process, not yours to resolve. Your calm, composed response or choice not to respond speaks volumes about your strength and self-control. Now imagine they respond with sadness. They might express how much they miss your presence or lament the fading connection. This can tug at your heartstrings, making you want to comfort them or close the gap you've created. But here's where Stoic wisdom guides you. Their sadness, while valid, is their journey to navigate. By stepping in to fix it, you risk undermining the very boundaries you've worked to establish. True strength lies in giving them the space to process their emotions while you honor your own. There's another possible reaction: relief. Maybe they were already pulling away, and your decision to step back aligns with their unspoken feelings. This can sting, especially if you weren't expecting it. But remember, as Seneca wisely noted, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Their relief doesn't diminish your worth. It simply reflects their truth in the moment. If they're happier without your presence, it's a clear signal to move forward with dignity, focusing on what truly matters in your life. At the core of Stoicism is the principle of control. You can't dictate how someone else feels or reacts. What you can control is your response. Will you let their emotions pull you back into a dynamic that no longer serves you, or will you stand firm, prioritizing your peace of mind and self-respect? When their emotions arise, be it anger, sadness, or relief, remind yourself that these feelings are fleeting. They may feel powerful in the moment, but they will pass like a storm clearing to reveal the sky. Your inner stability, however, is enduring. By focusing on what you can control, your actions, your thoughts, you protect your peace and maintain your sense of self-worth. Think of yourself as a tree in the midst of a storm. The wind may howl, the branches may sway, but the roots remain steadfast, anchored in the ground. Their emotional reactions are the wind, but your grounded response is the strength of your roots. You don't bend to their emotions. You stand tall, knowing your worth isn't tied to external forces. Some might ask, is it unkind to remain unaffected by their emotions? Not at all. By staying steady, you're not dismissing their feelings. You're respecting your boundaries and their ability to navigate their own journey. As the Stoics teach, true kindness begins with self-respect. When you honor your own limits, you create space for genuine interactions free of obligation or guilt. Take a moment to reflect. Have I allowed someone else's emotions to dictate my actions in the past? Have I compromised my peace for the sake of their comfort? Growth begins with recognizing where you faltered and choosing a new path. As you navigate these emotional tides, let Stoicism guide you toward clarity and strength. Their feelings are their own to process. Your role isn't to absorb or manage them, it's to remain steadfast, focused on your values, and aligned with your purpose. This is the essence of Stoic living, the ability to find peace within, no matter how turbulent the world around you may be. 6. Your worth isn't up for debate, standing firm in who you are. Your worth doesn't come from whether someone comes back or not. It's not about external validation or how others perceive you. It's about who you are when no one's watching, when there are no applause, no praise or approval. When you step back and stop pursuing, something shifts in the dynamic. It's not just the other person who feels the change, it's you too. They might begin to reflect on the relationship, reconsidering the role you played in their life. They might start recalling how you remained composed during challenges, how you didn't let circumstances dictate your actions. These moments can make them wonder about the kind of person you are, but your focus shouldn't be on their thoughts. Your focus should be on your own sense of self-worth. Stoicism teaches that our true strength comes from within, not from outside validation. Waiting for someone to acknowledge you or seek your approval only pulls you further from your authentic self. If you've chosen to step back by choosing silence or withdrawing from constant communication, don't sit by your phone waiting for a response. This moment isn't for checking in on them, it's for checking in with yourself. It's for reflecting on whether you're living up to your own standards, because that's where true self-respect lies. When you step back, you create space for something powerful, curiosity. They might start missing the steadiness you brought into their life, the way you remained calm and composed during challenges, how you carried yourself with grace, or your ability to remain unshaken by fleeting emotions. This shift is their process, not yours. But here's the important part. Whether they choose to come back or not doesn't change your value. Your worth is not dependent on their choices. In fact, this is one of the core lessons Stoicism teaches. Stand firm in your principles and don't allow others' opinions to define your sense of self. Imagine the scenario. You've stopped initiating contact. Now they're left wondering. They're reflecting on your actions and recognizing that you are not a person easily swayed by emotional turbulence. This is attractive, not because you're playing a game, but because confidence rooted in self-awareness and values is magnetic. It signals that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's recognition. It's anchored in who you are and who you choose to be. When you stop chasing someone, it's not a sign of defeat. It's a moment of empowerment. You're showing that you're secure in yourself, and don't need anyone else's validation to feel worthy. Your value is reflected in how you treat others, how consistently you live by your principles, and how you carry yourself even in moments of uncertainty. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom, self-sufficiency, and the understanding that the only validation that truly matters is your own. Consider this: when you embrace this mindset, whether they choose to return or not becomes secondary. You are anchored in something unshakable, your character and your unwavering commitment to living by your values. It's like a tree standing firm in the wind. The storm might blow and the leaves might shake, but the roots stay strong. Your roots are your values, and they are what sustain you, not the approval of others. So the next time you find yourself stepping back from someone, remember, your worth isn't up for negotiation. It's not about whether they reach out, acknowledge your value, or even reconsider their feelings. What matters is that you know your worth. It's something that comes from within, not from someone else's actions or words. And when you live by that principle, you no longer need anyone to validate your worth. It's already solid, already built, already there. This is the unshakable truth of Stoicism. When you stand firm in your self-respect, the need for external validation fades, and you move through life with a confidence that can't be touched by anyone else's judgment. 7. When they reach out, playing it cool and staying true to yourself. Imagine this: you've stopped reaching out. No more late-night texts, no more calls just to check in, no more plans to meet up. Silence has taken the place of your usual efforts. Then, out of nowhere, they reach out. Maybe it's curiosity, maybe they miss the attention, or perhaps they're wondering what's changed. The question now is, what do you do next? Do you immediately dive back into the conversation, hoping to pick up where you left off? Or do you take a step back and approach the situation with calm, calculated composure? This is where a Stoic mindset can truly make all the difference. Stoicism teaches us the value of pausing, reflecting, and acting intentionally rather than impulsively reacting to external events. When they reach out, it's natural to feel a rush of emotions, excitement, hope, maybe even nervousness. But this is the perfect opportunity to practice emotional discipline. The key is remembering that your power lies not in how they expect you to react, but in how you choose to respond. Instead of rushing to reply or letting their message derail your peace of mind, take a moment to breathe and think carefully. Ask yourself, what is their true intention behind reaching out? And perhaps more importantly, what do you truly want from this interaction? A Stoic approach means responding with clarity, purpose, and a deep sense of self-awareness. You don't seek validation from others. You seek alignment with your own principles and goals. For instance, imagine they send a message saying, "Hey, it's been a while. How are you?" The old version of you might have seen this as an invitation to dive right back into deep conversations or rekindle a connection that wasn't quite right in the first place. But with Stoic wisdom guiding your actions, your response is measured, calm, and respectful. You might simply reply, "I'm doing well, thanks for asking. Hope you're doing okay too." It's polite, it's brief, and it doesn't give away too much. In doing this, you maintain emotional control and keep your self-respect intact. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing we can control is our own thoughts, responses, and actions. You can't control their intentions, their hopes for rekindling things, or what they expect from this interaction, but you can control how you engage with them. When you stop chasing someone, the dynamics shift. Many people notice when attention fades, and some will reach out to see if they still have the same influence over you. But with Stoic principles, you no longer play into those dynamics. Your actions are no longer driven by the need to win them back or prove something to yourself. Instead, you act from a place of inner strength, self-assurance, and a commitment to your own peace of mind. If they reach out, let your response reflect your calm, grounded nature. Don't let emotions dictate your decisions. Stay in control of your peace and actions. You don't need anyone's validation to feel complete. You've already cultivated a deep sense of fulfillment within yourself. That's the essence of Stoicism in relationships. You're not reacting out of desperation, nor are you hoping for something. Instead, you respond with reason, balance, and confidence. So the next time their name pops up on your phone, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what truly matters to you in this situation? Respond with poise and let your actions demonstrate your strength. A Stoic person is not defined by who reaches out to them, but by how they carry themselves with dignity, control, and unwavering self-respect. When you stop chasing, you stop seeking approval. You let your inner worth shine, and that's what people and relationships are ultimately drawn to. 8. Walking your own path, embracing freedom and self-worth. Picture this. You've stopped reaching out, stepped back from chasing, and now questions linger in your mind. What happens next? Will they notice? Will they care? At first, the uncertainty can feel overwhelming. But here's the truth. The focus shouldn't be on their reaction. The real change begins within you, and this is where Stoic wisdom becomes your guide. When you stop pursuing, you reclaim control over your emotions. You're no longer operating from a place of seeking approval or attention. Instead, you're turning inward, prioritizing your self-respect, core values, and emotional fortitude. This is the kind of inner confidence that can't be shaken. Stoicism teaches that true happiness isn't found in external validation, like their texts, their interest, or their acknowledgement, but in cultivating inner peace and self-reliance. Now let's consider how they might respond. Maybe they'll reach out, curious about your sudden silence. Maybe they'll reflect on your absence and wonder what it means, or maybe they won't do anything at all. People are often intuitive, and your shift in energy may trigger them to re-evaluate the dynamic. But here's the key. What they do next isn't the defining factor. The real power lies in your detachment from the outcome. You're no longer consumed by whether they text back or show interest. This shift isn't about abandoning them, it's about prioritizing yourself. You're letting go of the need to control the situation, and in doing so, you embrace a high sense of freedom. Stoicism reminds us that while we can't dictate how others feel or act, we can control how we respond. By stepping back, you're not giving up. You're simply choosing to live without being tethered to their response. Whether they come back or not, you remain grounded, knowing your worth isn't dependent on their actions. Consider this scenario. You've been the one keeping the conversations alive, always initiating, always reaching out. You decide to stop, and days pass in silence. At first, you might wonder if they've even noticed. But then something shifts. You start to feel lighter. You're no longer glued to your phone, overthinking every text or waiting for their response. Instead, you're focused on your own growth, your goals, and your life. Maybe they eventually reach out, or maybe they don't. Either way, you've found peace in the uncertainty. This is a hallmark of Stoic resilience. This process isn't just about stepping back from them. It's about stepping forward into your own life. By releasing the attachment to their response, you're allowing yourself to live fully in the present. You're no longer burdened by what-ifs or trapped in the cycle of hoping for a specific outcome. You're aligning your actions with your principles, and that's where true confidence and self-respect thrive. In the end, whether they choose to reconnect is secondary. The real reward is what you've gained: emotional resilience and clarity. You've learned that true dignity and inner strength come not from chasing someone else's attention, but from living authentically, grounded in your values. Stoicism reminds us that our power lies in the ability to let go of what's outside our control and focus instead on what truly matters, our own character and the path we choose to walk. If this message resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Share your experiences or simply type "I choose self-respect" as a way of affirming your commitment to inner growth. Your insights not only deepen this conversation, but also inspire others navigating similar situations. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it. It's a small gesture that helps the channel reach more people and spread this message of empowerment. Before you go, take a moment to check out the recommended videos on your screen. They'll guide you deeper into Stoic principles and how they can transform your relationships, mindset, and life. Thank you for being here, for watching, and for investing in your personal growth. Until next time, stay grounded, stay true to yourself, and keep choosing self-respect. See you in the next video.